What's up, YouTube? This is the real Jay Cortez back with another episode of Living on Purpose. Today we're going to be talking to Pastor Dewayne Coleman. Pastor Dewayne Coleman is a pastor, youth pastor here in the Fresno area, has a unique outlook and approach to how to live in your purpose as well as how he's living in his. So we're going to talk about that today. Living on Purpose, episode 2. Let's go. What's up, bro?
What's up, man?
Good to see you.
Good to see you,
Yeah. All right. So let's just dive right in.
Let's do it.
So who's Dewayne Coleman?
That's, I guess we could simplify it by saying he's a son, husband, friend, and a pastor. I would say son, obviously my faith, son of God, not the son of God.
Right.
But a child of God. But also a child of Bishop Jr. and Dietrich Coleman, husband to Melissa Coleman, friend to many, and a pastor to a few as well. So that would, there's a lot of details we could put in there, but, comic book fan, sports fan.
Definitely. LeBron fan.
I'm passionate about GOATs, so I'm all about Batman, LeBron, stuff like that, I'm unashamed.
Yeah, no, that's all good. So, I know you.
Yeah.
And I kind of know your journey and everything, but how did you become, number one, a youth pastor? Like, what was that journey like? And, a little background on just your walk as a Christian,
It's definitely been a journey. Speaking in becoming a youth pastor, that definitely was never really part of my plan. Really being in ministry wasn't a part of the vision of how I saw my life going until senior year of high school.
Okay.
But I would say senior year, I believe it was preordained. I believe God, Proverbs says, man makes many plans, but God determines our steps. And I would say senior year, I became aware of the steps of what God had already pre-orchestrated. But even then, there was still a lot of apprehension about going into full-time ministry, being the son of a pastor. I had seen a lot. My dad had a phrase that church is like a restaurant. It is beautiful on the outside, but no one knows what's going on back in the kitchen.
Right.
And so I did, because I had grown up in ministry my whole life. And so there was just things that I'd experienced, and not even all bad, just not desirable. So that wasn't really the direction I wanted to go into. But senior year, it became clear to me, I didn't really have a lot of say in what my life was going to be about. God was really showing me the might of his hand and the favor of his hand and how he was leading me. So I kind of tapped out, gave in to the Lord, said, okay, I'll run this race with you, and got involved in Fellowship of Christian Athletes my senior year at Clovis High. And then the progression of myself in finding out who I was, that really did a lot for my development, self-respect, self-confidence, and really just understanding who I am in my own person. That confidence led me to sign up for Bible College, Master's Commission Sacramento, where they vigorously developed me in more ways than one for full-time ministry. And even there, youth ministry was never the vision. It was more of a theme. I knew I wanted to be a part of discipleship. I wanted to see young men, young women develop in their relationship with the Lord. Youth ministry came much later in the picture. But again, at the same time, God was always doing things. The more I live, it's only been 31 years, but the more I live, hindsight becomes more of, wow, God, you are already doing this. I'm just late to the party of recognizing what you were already setting me up for. But yeah, youth ministry really came when I came back to Fresno. I was from Sacramento. I had done a lot of ministry with young adults, and so I was trying to take what I learned in Sacramento and implement that here. And God kind of had, God was trying to expand my vision for ministry. And it took me about 1.5 years to come in agreement with that. But at that time, that's when it expanded from just young adults to youth as well. And so, yeah, I've been, 6 years, I believe it is now, I've been working in youth ministry. So, yeah, it's been awesome.
Nice. Yeah. And I just because being around you and everything, I noticed the effect that you have on young kids. Like, it's definitely a gift. It's not forced. Like, I've seen guys that try to appeal to young people and they just, overdo it. You got the guy trying to wear the ripped jeans and, say a couple things like lit and they think that they're, but it's like, it's not forced with you. And I noticed that. Is that something that you noticed too as well? Like,
yeah, and I think it's, I don't think it's, how would I say it? I think often when people see me engaging, it comes off natural. And so I wouldn't say it's as natural as it looks. It's natural, but it's not innate to me. It takes work. It is a skill. And that's why you'll see people try to make up for what they lack in skill in how they dress and their attire, or trying to mimic a speech pattern of that culture, and it doesn't work.
Right.
It just doesn't work. And so people can tell, especially teenagers, they can tell what's authentic and what's not. And there's nothing worse than when you're engaging a teenager and you get exposed for not being authentic in who you are. They won't trust anything you got to say.
Yeah.
And so you've lost everything. So I've been there, but I think why I excel there is that goes back to God preparing me my childhood. So I come from a predominantly all-black family, obviously, but I was always raised in a biracial culture. When my dad played pro baseball, we lived with a white family. Actually, twice in childhood and in my teenage years lived with an all-white family. Just different dynamics of stuff was going on. I won't get into all those details. It was good stuff. Just it was, and I say white in a general term.
Right.
I don't know if they're Irish, Italian, or whatnot, but just overgeneralizing, they're Caucasian, European descent. And so I learned at a young age how to adapt to other cultures because I was brought up in that. And then just having roots from Inglewood, Gardena in Southern California, and being raised in Clovis/Visalia, you learn how to adapt. Those are very different cultures.
Environments, yeah.
And if you don't want to be made fun of or outcasted, you have to learn, you have to listen, and you have to be able to adapt and learn, okay, what is the speech pattern here? So growing up like that is what has made it natural to where other people, they only know their lane of culture. So it's a lot more difficult to listen, to learn, and to appreciate different speech patterns, different styles of music. That was always natural to me because there was never one lane only.
Right.
So now engaging teenagers, that it is a skill because you can get better at it and you can be worse at it. And and I still deliberately engage in a way to build up that skill. And I think it starts with listening. You have to learn the culture. You have to listen before you speak. And as you do that, you'll gain appreciation, you'll gain respect, and you'll be able to converse in a way where it doesn't mean you're a chameleon in that you're changing.
Right.
I'm always me.
Right.
No matter the demographic, who I'm working with, they'll all describe the same Dwayne, but I'm able to communicate in a way where they feel I'm one of them.
Right.
But it's still Dwayne.
No, I get you.
Yeah.
I get you. It's just many facets, and the ability to I guess not even just in speech, but body language and everything.
Body language is huge.
You're communicating that I'm comfortable in this environment. I'm comfortable with you. I understand you. You understand me. I get it.
So important. Yeah.
Yes, I know that God has given you the ability to be an influence on campuses here in the Fresno area. How did that happen? Number one, because I know a lot of probably youth pastors or people in general who are in ministry would want to know that. And then also, what does it look like? Like, what's happening right now?
Yeah, so one, I would say it's totally the favor of God. Many things in my life, but specifically speaking on getting, we're not talking about just getting on a public school campus. That's not so difficult to do. But getting partnership with the infrastructure of a campus, that's a much different thing. And that's the favor of God. Not the favor of God in the cliche way that most Sunday services will describe it, as though it's this mysterious, I can't explain it, God just made it happen.
Right.
I don't really subscribe to that. God works in mysterious ways. There's some things God does that we can't break down like a science. We just throw it up. Hey, God just did his thing there. I don't believe that is how we should engage the favor of God. The favor of God typically is something that you can analyze, that you can observe. So for me, the favor of God is not some ambiguous thing. The favor of God is what we've been talking about, how he raised me up so that I had certain gifts and certain personality traits. The favor of God is wisdom, but wisdom doesn't just come out of the blue. It's your studies and grasping for knowledge, being around wise people. So the favor of God for me is failure. There's been a lot of failure in youth ministry. I've had a lot of plans, a lot of strategies, some work. Many have failed. We won't name specific schools, but there was a school that I really wanted to engage and partner with and felt like it should have worked out. It didn't work out. Didn't want me, didn't feel like they needed me. And I took that personal. And for me, when I take things personal, I take them to the Lord. If it's personal to me, it got to be personal to you. We gotta hash this out. And so through that, to be honest with you, there was kind of a quitting mentality that rose up in me. That was like, okay, Lord, the vision I had for campus ministry, maybe I missed you, or maybe I'm just not the guy. And so I kind of, for me, it was quitting. It was kind of, I just put that to the side. Lord, I'm not going to even focus on that. Right. And that's when God breathed life onto me. Right. So out of the blue, I get a call to engage with a school campus that was the closest school campus to our church, ironically. And so one thing led to another. But and even as I say that, I can hear some people thinking, wasn't that the mystery of God working there? Yes and no. It was mysterious to me, and that at the time I couldn't see how that door was opening. But the reality is that came through a connection because of who I am to one person, that through that connection gave me access to their connections. Right? It just didn't come in the timing or in the pattern that I was envisioning. God said, I'm going to do it through you and through who you are and through your efforts, just not the ones you were looking at. And so God used someone I wasn't thinking would be my ace, right? I was looking at these other resources with bigger names and bigger titles, and it didn't work. And then God used, I guess you could say, the least of these or whatever, although I don't see that person that way, but God used something I wasn't expecting. Much smaller, but that was still in connection to who I am as a person. So if I'm not focused on the development of who I am, that connection's not there, and I'm not at this high school campus. So the way I got into the high school campus was the favor of God, but when you analyze the favor of God, it was through the development of who I am. If I was somebody else, that connection doesn't work. Because even when I'm in the room, if I'm not the right person, it's, I got to the table, but now it's like, yeah, we'll call you, and you never get that call. That's why I always tell people, performance is important, but it can't excel who you are as a person. You have to be diligent in who you are as a person, equally to your performance level, because performance will always get you a seat at the table.
Right.
And you may sit at that table for the rest of your life, but your person will constantly be opening doors for you. And being on the high school campus that I am, being the person that I am, has given me open doors to have tremendous influence that's really, as far as I know, extremely rare anywhere in California. And I have a lot of connections to California, so I say that confidently. It's a very unique partnership that I have and that I enjoy. But again, it comes through diligence, not just on performance. You do have to be able to perform. People give you tasks and give you an assignment. You got to be able to perform. But at the same time, you want to be a person of effect. And by that I mean you want to be a person that when the work is done, they're still thinking about you. They still want to be around you. That means you're touching the soul. People like that are rare. I think the rarest on the planet. People will pay a lot for those people. People will do a lot for those people. So I think it's very important. But a long way to answer the question. Yeah, I would say you got to focus on who you are as a person. For me, that's what the favor of God looks like. I believe Scripture speaks to that, having favor with both God and man. That's being diligent, not just in your capability of doing things, but making sure you're diligent in who you are as you do them.
So the main reason why we do these videos is purpose.
Yeah.
You're walking in your purpose, and it's easy for us to say, but for people who don't know their purpose, haven't figured that out, or even pastors who haven't figured out a formula of how to use like you were saying, the gift that you got by being in a multicultural environment and being able to use that in the present day to do what you're doing and advance that. Like, how would you maybe explain that for someone that doesn't know their purpose, and then also for pastors using their gifts to further their call?
Purpose is a big deal. Basically, Bible college, my ultimate goal was, you're going to tell me what my purpose is. It didn't. And then but my whole Bible college experience, and even I would say probably my first couple of years in pastoral ministry was trying to uncover my purpose while making it look like I knew it all at the same time, right? So kind of a stressful job. And even today, I think, there's books, there's sermons, there's conferences, and people like to believe that you can bottle up purpose and then sell it. And even if it's not true, people like that idea of it. Because I think what most people want, what people value more than purpose, is the persona of having it, right? And so it doesn't even really matter if I have purpose or not.
Right.
What most people are looking for is, how do I make it seem to others as well as myself that I got it? Because if I just have the view of it, I'm good, right? And Instagram really magnifies that. But for those who really want purpose, like I did, I didn't want. It's kind of like this. It's kind of like when I remember working out, and I worked out in Bible college, and I got to 245, and it was the most disappointing moment of my life. We're all bench pressing. I get to 245, and I've never been stronger. And my dad's, my dad, he's a big dude, and he is big, he is strong, and he looks the part. I'm benching 245. There's a guy benching 145 in my Bible college. He's twice as big as I am, and was one of the most depressing moments in my workout history. Because I'm like, I've done all this lifting. We started at the same time. His max is 145. Mine is 245. I'm 100 pounds more than him that I can bench press. And his chest is just popping and emerging. And I'm like, God has put like a cap on it. I don't look any bigger. I'm slightly bigger than what I was before. And I said, I'll never work out again. So my issue was what a lot of people have, is that they're not looking for the satisfaction of purpose. they want a visual that can deceive others as well as themselves.
Right.
But that's not everybody. So for those who truly want purpose, I would say this. I would say how I uncovered my purpose and how I believe the way purpose works is first, don't seek purpose. You know, which a lot of people are going to disagree with. But if you're not looking for the visual, then don't seek, because that's what most people think of when they think of purpose. They're looking for a visual. They're looking at an image that you can Instagram. Right. Don't look for that.
No.
Don't seek that. Don't seek purpose. What you should seek is people. Okay, and whether people who are near to your heart, or maybe you just a really callous dude and you don't care about nobody, then just seek whoever's near you. Your workspace, your proxy, your neighborhood, whatever arena of life you find yourself in, and there's another human life, go involve yourself into their world. Okay, and here's what will happen. As you begin to involve yourself in people's lives, you will eventually learn them and learn, the different dynamics of their life. As you do, assert yourself by assisting, helping, and serving them. And very quickly, you're going to find out where you're useful and where you're not useful. Okay? As that happens, begin to concentrate on where you're useful. And you know what's going to happen? Passion is going to begin to follow you, because there's something that happens when we as humans begin to get outside of ourselves and serve other people. I believe that's the purpose of humanity is not to serve myself, but to serve others. So the question isn't necessarily what is my purpose. It's uncovering the purpose for us is to serve other people.
Right.
But where do I fit in that bigger picture? Well, I don't think that's going to come through a lot of religious activity, going on a mountaintop and for 6 months praying alone with God. You're probably not going to uncover your purpose that way. I think maybe a very few rare amount of individuals will, but for the most of us, it's going to be by involving ourselves and partnering with other human lives. So the more that you get involved with human life and not involved as a busybody, as you're using people as projects, but sincerely, like I'm getting involved, and as I'm involved, I'm just going to be aware of when opportunities come up. I'm going to assert myself, and I'm going to fail, and I'm going to find out that's not my lane. But at the same time, I'm going to find out, hey, I was pretty useful. I'm going to get feedback from people, and I'm going to recognize I have something here, whether it's I'm a natural encourager. I can see the positive outlook on things, or man, I have an ability to fix things. Whatever it is, I'm going to find that out by putting myself in people's lives.
Right.
And so for me, being in Bible college, it didn't give me purpose in the sense of it fulfilled the image and I could Instagram it. But through the course of that journey, looking back, I was able to see, wow, no, I've been walking in my purpose. I needed to get outside of the box of how do I fit it in a frame that I can put on the internet. No. That's not purpose. Purpose is, and here's mine. So for me, and purpose is different than person. Okay, I think that's important to say too.
Yeah.
So they have a crossing, they do intersect, but for me, the who I am is not defined by what I do. Okay, and I think that's important. And so first, you need to know who you are, okay, as a person. For me, I am, what makes me Dwayne, and no one else is like me, is my divinely inspired DNA, my earthly experience, and biblical truth that is constantly renewing my mind. That is what makes me, those three things together uniquely make me Dewayne Coleman Jr. Now, in that person is going to be interconnected to what I do, okay? But before the what I do comes, I first have to have why do I do what I do. That why is going to be rooted in my person. So if I know who I am, then out of who I am is going to flow why I do what I do.
Right.
So I'm going to know why. Why am I getting up? Why am I going here? why, my why is rooted in my person. Out of my why is then going to come what I do, which most people refer to that as the purpose, the work, what I do. Then in doing what I do, that is going to flow into how I do it, right? And then how I do it is going to dictate or direct where I do it. Most people don't start with the why, they start with the what. So then they end up doing whatever, but in doing whatever, they're not really passionate about it. They don't understand why they're doing it. They just know this is what I do, but they don't know why. And so their passion isn't in the doing, and so passion becomes where I'm doing it, right? That's why the best doctors live on the coast, because most doctors don't do it because they understand their why. They don't know their why. They just know I get a big paycheck, and this is, you find this with a lot of people who do what they do. They don't understand their why, so their passion is really limited, and it's temporal, and so you get fascinated with external things rather than internal things. So you chase location, and you tend to move, or if you get the money to have multiple locations, because you're trying to make up for internally what you lack externally. So for me, I know who I am. I am, as I said earlier, I'm a son, I'm a husband, and even before I was a husband, so I was a son and I was a friend. And out of that launched my why. In who I am as a son and as a friend, I learned my why is I want to see people have an authentic relationship with Jesus Christ. And for that to me, that looks like being confident of their salvation and having a maturity in their faith. So it's not just I raised my hand and I believe I'm going to heaven, but I actually have a strong, established foundation in relationship with God, right, and a desire to see my faith elevated year to year. I want to inspire people and help develop people in that way. That why was birthed out of who I am as a son and as a friend. Right. So I think you first start with, well, I need to know who I am before I go start doing the what. Because if I have my why, your why doesn't change. My why, that's till the day I die, I will be always in some manner helping people develop in their relationship with God. Now the what may change. It may look like youth ministry. It may look like working with professional athletes or business owners or YouTube channels, whatever. The what can change, but my why never does. Right. The what is just a tool that's channeling my why. So if you're looking for a purpose, I would say, you start with, let me just go engage the people in my community. Let me serve, find out where I'm useful, because where I'm useful, that's ordained. God put that in me, and God putting it in you doesn't mean that it's limited to what you were born with. Part of it is your environment and what you were given in environment, whether that's seen as negative or bad. God doesn't waste anything. So whether you were in the slums or you're in the palace or you're highly educated, undereducated, it doesn't matter. There is value in your upbringing, and you got to learn how to recognize that and how to bottle that up, and how does that become useful in my engagements with other people. You serve other people, you're internally going to be satisfied, because that's what you were really built for. You weren't built for making cool Instagram photos. That's just, and that doesn't last. Right. It doesn't last. Right. So.
Thank you for coming on today. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Once again, this is Living on Purpose. My name is Jay Cortez. This is
Dwayne Coleman.
We're out. That's it.